everyone, welcome or welcome back. It is definitely a welcome back for me. I have had the most amazing, busy, crazy summer that has understandably taken away my attention from knitting and filming. So yeah, I haven't shared anything on my Instagram or on my YouTube since the springtime. A little bit of a life update. My husband and I had our wedding back in May, and then June and July we were busy buying a house and we moved, so I'm in a new place, if you can tell. And then August I started a new full-time job and I got sick. So yeah, just crazy but amazing blessings that have happened this summer. And unfortunately I haven't had as much time to knit or film, but I still spent some time knitting and I do have some things I want to share. So I wanted to dedicate this video all to everything I've knit this summer, and I also have some yarn acquisitions. I'm gonna save my fall plans for a separate video, but the yarn that I have acquired is definitely more fall fiber friendly. So yeah, just bear with me. It's been a minute since I have tried filming, so hopefully we can get through this without too many cuts, but it is what it is. So without further ado, let's just jump into my finished objects. This summer, I started out the summer not really feeling inspired to knit a summer shirt. I try to knit at least one summer shirt a year, but I just tend to not really enjoy it as much as my fall and winter knitting, of course. But I was just browsing on Ravelry and I realized that I had a pattern for the ranunculus, and I opened it up and I was just so overwhelmed by it. I don't know if this is just a me problem, because so many people love that pattern, and there's so many projects on Ravelry. It's been knit in so many different ways, but when I opened it, I just got so overwhelmed reading the pattern. And I think what throws me off is the gauge of the pattern and the needle size, because I wanted to knit a summer shirt and I couldn't understand how I was supposed to meet gauge with the needle size recommended and without having to size down to a really small needle size. I don't know. I think also just the way the pattern is laid out, I was feeling overwhelmed. Let me know if you also have felt that way, because I don't know anyone else that feels that way about that pattern. It's a beautiful pattern, but anyway, I was feeling inspired by that pattern. I was trying to cast it on. I was feeling overwhelmed. So I ended up finding this pattern, which is what I'm wearing right now. It's my first finished object. This is called the Fiorino. It's by Isabel Kramer, and this is a beautiful circular yoke t-shirt that I felt was similar enough to what I was wanting with the ranunculus, but it was still unique and different in its own way. So a little bit about the pattern. This is a t-shirt. You could knit it as a sweater or a pullover if you wanted to. It's knit with a fingering weight yarn. The gauge for this pattern is 24 stitches and 34 rows. And the recommended needle size for the body is a 3.25 millimeter and then a 3 millimeter for the ribbing. It is available from size 1 to 9, which correlates to a variety of different measurements. And I knit the size small. I used Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color cream to knit this, and I only ended up using about 2 3/4 of yarn out of my 4 balls of yarn. So I still have 1 1/4 ball left. I don't know what I'll do with it, but I really love the cotton merino. I've knit with it in the past, and unfortunately I just didn't enjoy the finished object that I had, but I have rediscovered my love for this yarn and I just think it's perfect for this pattern. It does have some merino in it, so I wouldn't say it's like 100% summer friendly depending on where you live. I live in the Northeast, so kind of during a more cooler summer day or the transition seasons, this is perfect because it has the merino. I would say if it's anywhere above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, I would probably not wear this, but typically we've been having like high 70 to mid 80 days in August, so this is very nice. I did just take this off the blocking mat, so I can't say much about how it wears, but so far I love it, and I love the fit, and I love the wearability with the temperature. So yeah, that's a little bit about the pattern. I did make some modifications to it. So I decided right when I cast it on to do just a tiny little bit of twisted rib before I started the pattern. So I cast it on, started the 1x1 rib, and then I only did maybe like 3 or 4 rows of it. And then I moved on to the short rows. So this pattern has you do short row shaping. And then soon after that, I moved into the yoke pattern. And the pattern itself, it was a little bit difficult for me, not because of how it was written at all. The pattern is written wonderfully. I think just the way that the stitches are knit, my like fitting the needles in there, and I found myself like dropping stitches and just having a hard time with that. But once I got the hang of it, and by the time I was on the bottom of the yoke, it was just smooth sailing from there. Some other modifications I did along the way was I decided to omit the lace pattern along the sleeves and the bottom hem. It's just something that I found wouldn't really fit in my style personally, so I just decided to forego that. And I just did a 1x1 twisted rib along the hemming of the bottom hem and the sleeves. So yeah, I also cropped it a little bit. So I envisioned me wearing this with some high-waisted pants. I typically wear high-waisted jeans or high-waisted trousers, things like that. So I really like the length of this. I think it turned out perfect. I was a little bit worried that I made it too cropped, but once I blocked it, it just turned out exactly how I wanted it to. Some other things I did was when I was knitting the sleeves, I sized down just to have a tighter fit around my arms. I didn't want this to be too oversized and baggy. Overall, when I first casted this on, I wasn't meeting the gauge with the original intended needle size. The pattern calls for a 3.25 millimeter needle, and I ended up sizing up to a 3.5 millimeter needle to meet gauge. My finished gauge ended up being pretty spot on. After blocking the garment, the gauge was 24 stitches by 36 rows, which is right on gauge. So then, yeah, I ended up sizing down to 3.25 for the sleeves, which was the recommended needle size to begin with. And then for the hemming of the bottom hem and the sleeves, I ended up going down, I believe, to 2.75 or a 3 millimeter needle. So in terms of the yarn, again, I have used this yarn before, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of spotlight because I just love this yarn so much. It was such a pleasure to work with. It was not splitty at all. At least this color was not splitty at all. I don't know if it's coming off on camera, but it's a very creamy white. The color is called cream. And I bought it online, so I was a little bit worried about what type of white that this would come off as, but it's just a beautiful, warm, creamy white color. And it's nice and soft. It wasn't scratchy on my hands at all. It's also very lightweight, so I only used 1 strand of this, and it's so lightweight. The only other summer fiber I have experience knitting with is the Sadnes Laine, and that's more of like a worsted weight, I believe. So that summer shirt that I knit, while it's wonderful for summer, it is pretty heavy for a summer shirt, whereas this is just so beautiful, dainty, lightweight, and I just think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this for the rest of the summer. All in all, I highly recommend this pattern if you are wanting something with a circular yoke, and maybe you also feel overwhelmed by the ranunculus. I still really want to tackle that pattern. I just have not gotten there yet. So maybe next summer, or if I end up doing like a sweater version, maybe I would, but I would definitely knit this pattern again. I think maybe like instead of having a more cropped version, I could do a longer t-shirt with like some baggier sleeves, and maybe try a different color too, but I think the cream is just classic, and I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this. So hopefully I can have more insight into the wearability of this as time goes on, and I can share in a later time, but that is really all I have to say for this top. If you have any questions about it, please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, so that's all for that, and let's move on to my next finished object. So my next finished object is something that I have talked about in my previous podcast back in the spring. This is something that I started back in the springtime, and I just finished it, although I still have to put buttons on it, so it's not technically finished, but for the most part it's finished. So this is my Amber cardigan. This is a short sleeve cardigan knit with a fingering weight and a lace weight mohair held together. I will admit I have not blocked this arm yet, this sleeve, so if it looks a little bit wonky, that's why. And this has also been kind of held up in a bag, so because it's a little bit too warm to wear this. So yeah, if it looks a little bit wonky, that's why. But so yes, this is my Amber cardigan. A little bit about the pattern. This was featured in Laine magazine issue 24. That's where I got this pattern. I bought the whole booklet, and it's a pattern by Cheryl Mokhtari. I think that's how you say it. This was released back in March of 2025, and the suggested yarn is Biches and Bouche Le Petit Silk Mohair with the organic cotton. So I ended up going for a different yarn that I'll share in a little bit, but so this is technically a sport weight or a DK weight if you just wanted to use one strand of yarn. The suggested or the gauge for this pattern is 20 stitches and 28 rows per 4 inches and in stockinette stitch, and then the needle sizes suggested are for the body a 4mm needle. This cardigan, it's a short sleeve cardigan, and it's a V-neck cardigan. It features a raglan construction, and it has this really cool, almost like slip stitch pattern on the sleeves, if you can see that. This is knitted from the top down, so that was wonderful. And it is kind of like a drapey, it's meant to be like a summer cardigan. I ended up doing, it's definitely more of like a transition season cardigan for me. I don't know why I know why I chose the yarn I did, but now looking back, I kind of do wish that I chose a summery cotton paired with a mohair, but we'll get into that in a bit. This has many sizes. It ranges from size 1 all the way to a size 12. So unfortunately I did not take any notes on this, but I'm just going to see how my memory serves me here. So I knit mine using La Bien-Aimee cashmerino and La Bien-Aimee mohair in these rosy pink colors held together. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but if you're curious, you can always ask. I'll also try to leave it down in the description if I remember. So yeah, I held those two together, and the reason I chose that was because I have an obsession with the La Bien Aimee cashmerino yarn. I'm also knitting a pair of socks that I'll talk about. It's just the most delicious superwash yarn I personally have used. It's so soft. The cashmere content, while it's not a lot, really lends to like a really soft, bouncy fabric. And since I had been knitting those socks, I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to use this for a garment. Like, I love it so much. I want to try to knit a garment with it. So that's what I ended up doing. I went to my local yarn store, and it was springtime, and I was obsessed with pink at that time. Every spring when it rolls around, I'm obsessed with pink. I just love it so much. It's not even something that I typically would wear in my wardrobe often, but I just love it so much. I would like to find more ways to incorporate it. But anyway, so yeah, I picked those two yarns. I ended up using 1.5 skein of each, so 1.5 skein of the cashmerino and 1.5 skein of the mohair to knit this. This again is kind of cropped. I didn't want it to be too long because I envisioned wearing it in like the springtime with some skirts or high-waisted trousers, something like that. Probably with some jeans or like white pants or a white skirt or something like that. And yeah, overall had a really pleasant time knitting this. You cast on at the neckline, and you do, I'm pretty sure there's short row shaping in this, and you're just knitting flat across basically because it's a cardigan, to shape the back and then work on the sleeves at the same time and the raglan stitches as well. And then eventually you split for sleeves and just keep knitting flat, stockinette in the body. And that part flew by pretty fast because I didn't have to worry about doing the slip stitch type of pattern for the sleeves. And then I finished off with some 1x1 ribbing, and then I went back and I did the double knit button band. I was a little bit worried as I was doing this because I'm pretty sure my row gauge was off. That while I was knitting the button band, it started to like scrunch in, and I was scared that I was making it too tight. So I finished the button band, and then I went and blocked it and stretched it out, and it ended up being totally fine. I actually think I'm gonna give this one more block, one to block out this sleeve, and then also just to really reinforce that stretch with the button band, because I don't know, I get worried. One thing that really bothers me is when I knit cardigans and the button band makes or breaks the whole thing. Like, it either makes the cardigan fit too scrunched up, like in the front bottom area, or it is too big and then it's like falling off of my shoulder. So yeah, I'm gonna actually try it on right now. I don't know how long I'll last in this because it is pretty warm out. But yeah, like, no, it's fine now. I do think I could reinforce it a little bit by stretching it out a little bit with blocking. And I just have to add the buttons now. The yarn, it's a tonal yarn. It's definitely not variegated, but it ended up creating this really nice subtle striping throughout it. I think the color is really unique, and I don't have anything like this in my wardrobe. So yeah, I did get some buttons for it, but I actually don't love how these look with it. I'll show you what I ended up getting, but I think I'm gonna try ordering something else. So these were the ones I got. They're slightly pink in color, but they're like a mother of pearl, like opalescent type of pink. And I just don't love how they look on this. To me, it kind of looks a little bit tacky for my taste. So I'm gonna try going with just like a basic small white cute little button. or like a cream color button, and see how that pairs with it. I think I would reknit this with a cotton yarn held with a mohair or something like that, just to make it more summer friendly, since it is a short sleeve cardigan. And yeah, I think I might just get a little bit more wear out of it that way. But yeah, that is my Amber cardigan by Cheryl Mokhtari. I don't think I mentioned this, but I did knit the size 3. Okay, and then the last kind of finished object that I have is still slightly a work in progress, and that's a pair of socks. These are the Mountain Walk socks by Florence Miller. They are a beautiful all over ribbed and cable detail. They're actually faux cables. These are not real cables built into this. One thing that I love about this is the rolled hem. I don't have a pair of socks with just a rolled hem, and I just thought about wearing these in my hiking boots this fall. I really like that detail. And then the subtle cabling in between the rib detail, and then it features also a slip stitch heel, which I love a slip stitched heel. I've done a few different types of heels, and this is just like my go-to. It is strong, it's sturdy, and it lasts quite a while without completely falling apart. And then you just continue on in the rib cable detail down the foot. So I have one sock done. I did opt to make the leg a little bit longer to use up the yarn, because I always end up having so much sock yarn left. I have like a whole bin of scraps from my sock yarn that even if I can just get through most of the skein and have like a tiny little bit left, I would feel better about discarding the yarn than just like having a whole bunch left and throwing it away. So that's why I went for the longer leg. They look so small, but it's just because of the ribbing. They fit my foot perfectly. I actually love how the ribbing like cinches in on my leg and my foot, because I really don't like when socks feel like there's too much fabric in them, if you know what I mean. So this is just the perfect fit. I have really enjoyed knitting up these socks. The pattern is so easy to remember that I, halfway through the leg, I didn't need the chart anymore. I don't think this pattern has a chart. It just has the written instructions, which are very easy to follow. So that's one sock. I actually had been all the way through the leg on the second sock, and then I realized I was doing it wrong. And that's what happens when you get too confident and think that you can knit without a pattern, because I was like, oh, I already did the other leg, I'll be fine, I don't need to read this. And I was completely wrong, and I just messed it up horribly, and I didn't even realize until I was all the way through the leg, which is a little bit embarrassing. But so I just ripped back and I restarted, and now I don't have a beautiful cake of yarn anymore, but it kind of looks like a jumbled mess. This yarn is the La Bien-Aimée cashmerino in the color that escapes me right now because I don't have the tag anymore. I want to say it's Moonstone or something like that, but it's this beige creamy color with variation of browns and yellows and white and purple, almost like a taupe. It's beautiful. I love the earthy tones. It's very earthy and muted. I just love this cashmerino. I could sing its praises all day. I've had this sock done since the springtime, and I wish that I had the other sock to show, but it's just gonna have to wait until next time. So I've been taking these along with me to work for when I have a break, or if I have to wait somewhere, I just bring the sock, and it's great for on-the-go knitting. So I'm knitting these on a standard 2.25 millimeter needle, and I'm doing the smaller size, which is the 64 stitch cast on, I believe. The pattern only has two sizes. There's the 64 stitch cast on, and then the other size is 72, I believe. So that's it for everything that I've been knitting this summer. I do have a cardigan that I have, but I'm putting it away until next spring, so I don't really feel like I should share it just because there's not going to be any update on it anytime soon, but we can wait till next spring to talk about that. Okay, so I do have a couple of yarn acquisitions that I want to share this summer, and with the intention of making something this fall, because this is definitely a fall or winter fiber. It's not summer appropriate, but I'll show you what it is. This is the Double Sunday by Sadnes Garn in this beautiful new colorway called Deep Burgundy. So I'll show it to you up close. I think the camera is picking it up very well. So the reason I got this is because I had come across Petite Knit. She had released a new cardigan, and it wasn't even the cardigan that caught my eye, it was the color of the yarn that caught my eye. And I really didn't have any interest in making that cardigan. I just wanted that color yarn. So I searched online. It was really hard to find in the US. I was only able to find 8 balls of it from the website that I bought it from, and it was a completely new to me website. The website was called Home Sewn, and yeah, they were supplying it, but I could only get 8 balls of it. So I think what I'm going to do with this is make a vest or a pullover rather than a sweater or a cardigan. So I've knit with the Double Sunday once before, held with a Mohair. I've never knit with it just on its own, but I'm really looking forward to knitting with this. So that is my first acquisition. The second acquisition I have is from my local yarn store called Joyandknitting. I got 4 skeins or 4 hanks of this yarn. So this is the Kelbourne Woolen's Scout. Super popular yarn. I've just never knit with it before. This is 100% wool, and you get quite a lot in this hank. It comes with 270 yards for a 100-gram hank, and I got the color Chestnut Heather. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but there is some heathering in this. I'm curious what this will look like in a swatch. I haven't caked these up or swatched them yet. If you've used this yarn before, do you think like it's good as just a stockinette yarn? Is it good with cables? Is it good for color work? I'm just curious to know your thoughts. I was just browsing on the Ravelry website and seeing what people knit with, and I saw a lot of halibut sweaters, but I'm not super interested in knitting that, so I'm not opposed to color work. I could get a contrast yarn, but I had another pattern in mind for my first like big color work, and I wasn't envisioning like a DK weight, which is what this is. So yeah, I don't know. So I'm kind of leaning towards either a cabled sweater or a just stockinette. I was looking at the DRK Everyday Sweater by Andrea Mallory. That is a sport weight yarn, but I can just adjust the needle size if needed. So yeah, I really love the rich, just like chestnut color of this yarn. It kind of is coming across as darker than it is on camera, although it is a pretty dark brown. So yeah, I can't wait to knit with this. Obviously, I just got this last week, so I was actually going into my local yarn store for buttons, and I ended up not leaving with buttons, and I walked out with this yarn. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to know what you're knitting. Please feel free to leave that down in the comments below and start a conversation. If you have any questions about anything that I've shared or want more details, feel free to also leave a comment, and I'll get back to you that way. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video and want to keep up with my projects that I'm working on, feel free to subscribe and like the video if you liked it. But that's all I have to share today. So until next time, I hope you have happy knitting, and I'll see you in the next one.